Somehow she escaped the fence, and I have no idea how. Good morning, large white farm dogs. How are you guys doing? Good to see you both. So I have two livestock guardian dogs here on my farm. There's Abby dog, and then there's Toby dog, who you just see marking the territory there. I have no idea why Toby dog is so filthy, but I actually wonder if his dirtiness has something to do with his new job. You see, in the long-standing tradition of big tough guys watching over tiny, weak little ones, Toby dog has become a babysitter. And more specifically, Toby dog has become the babysitter to a large class of precocious Gooselings. And yes, you heard me correct. I said Gooselings, not Goslings. In my opinion, the term Gosling is only appropriate for a little baby goose for the first week of life. After that point, they sort of morph into this age where they're like teenagers, and they're not quite Gosling and they're not quite goose. And that's what I have my hands on right here. And while I'm still doing the training with Abby dog to get her comfortable to staying full-time up at the top of the hill with the cattle, it's Mr. Toby dog's job to serve as the babysitter for all of the Gooselings as they free range around our farm during the day. Let loose the goose! Stay out of my greenhouse, you little menaces! They actually snuck in here yesterday because I forgot to close the door and they started to eat the crops. I'm trying to save those crops for the adults during the winter months to feed them. Toby, you gotta stay on guard dog duty and you can't let the Goslings go in here, okay, man? So yeah, my Goslings now are ranging in age between about 3 weeks old and 7 weeks old, and so some of the Goslings actually almost look like full-grown geese, just a fair amount smaller. Others still very much look like Goslings, but pretty much let them free range, rain or shine at this point around the farm. Our weather temps during the day kind of range between the 60s into the low 80s, and so that's just about right for any age of Gosling. Yes, we'll get some rain, but it doesn't seem to affect them that much. I think part of my theory is by having a whole group of Goslings and also having a warm air temperature, that's keeping the littlest Goslings from catching a chill. At this point too, they're getting most of their diet from the pasture for really all age groups. You know, when I make that case to say that I think that geese are the most sustainable form of pastured poultry, it really is because of this. You know, for about the first 4 weeks of life, I will feed them a pretty steady and heavy ration of duck feed. I find that that actually works the best for raising baby Goslings and baby ducks. And so what you can see actually here is a soaked version of that duck feed that I have out just for the youngest ones, just so that they get a little bit of an extra protein boost. But again, if my goal is to make the most sustainable form of pastured poultry, they really need to be getting their feed at this point from the land, and so really only using water, sunshine, and space. I actually think most of these birds are about 5 or 6 pounds at this point, and what'll happen is over the next 2 months or so, they will just get bigger and bigger until they get to be about the size of the adult birds that you see way back there, and that will be almost done, I don't know, 90% from grass. My yield weights are going to be lower than a commercial goose farm who is feeding their geese like feed or corn or something, but again, if my goal is to have sustainably produced pastured poultry, that's one of the trade-offs. And so that's why it actually becomes much more expensive. And so that's why the price of my goose meat is actually a bit higher than where you might find elsewhere, because it takes more money to raise these geese, it takes more time to raise these geese, and then these geese end up weighing less than a different method of raising goose. But that said, I do end up getting some pretty big and hefty birds, and these birds are actually on sale. If you want to buy a frozen goose, you can actually go right on our website, goldshawfarm.com. Right now, we have our basically store fully stocked. I know how many geese I'll have available for sale this fall, and so if you want to buy one, go ahead and do it. But there are just a couple of key caveats I need to share with you. Number one, when you buy a goose from our website, you are essentially putting down a reservation. That means I'm collecting a deposit from you, and it's reserving your goose so that come fall when I harvest these geese, you will have essentially reserved your slot. Because we actually harvest all of our birds right here on farm, Vermont state law allows us to produce up to 999 birds that are harvested here on farm. That means we don't have to go to a processing plant. That means that we don't have to work through the onerous USDA certification process. But it also means that we can only sell our birds on farm or at farmers markets. And so that means if you actually want to buy your bird, you need to physically come to our farm here in Peacham, Vermont, and pick up your bird, and you pay the remainder of the balance. And so the calculation I do is I take the weight of the bird, multiply it by the price per weight, and then I subtract the deposit you've already paid, and then you pay that remainder. I give you your frozen bird. You're able to have a wonderful family meal. Maybe it's Christmas, maybe it's Thanksgiving, maybe you're just having friends over, but you do have to physically come up here to the farm to get the bird. But the good news is, if you do come up to the farm, I will give you like a mini tour. I can't take you inside certain areas like the animal enclosures or the bird yard or the permaculture orchard, but I can give you a walk around. You'll definitely meet the barn cats. Don't be surprised if Ginny Barn Cat gets insanely friendly with you. She's insanely friendly with everybody. For insurance reasons, you're not allowed to pet Toby dog or Abby dog, but you probably could snap a picture with one of them. And so for people who've come out here in years past, it's actually a lot of fun, and it really is one of the extremely rare opportunities that you have to like come visit the farm, because other than that, we don't accept visitors here at our farm. So if you want to get your own pasture-raised goose, you can just go on our website and check it out. And yeah, I'd love to have you guys come out here, pick up a bird, and I can meet you guys. It'd be fun. And for those who are wondering, yes, I have given the geese access to the pond. They seem to really enjoy it. You know, all of the tadpoles that we had growing in the pond have fully grown up and are now large frogs wandering the farm. And also the geese are a lot less damaging to the water plants that I'm trying to establish in here. And so I'm not gonna give them constant exposure to the pond, but right now they're getting to enjoy some swims. All right, Abby, we're getting your camera on today. Good job. I just put a camera on Abby because I'm very curious to see what she gets up to when she's up on the pasture alone with the cattle and chickens. Come on, Abs, let's go. I actually really enjoy the morning commute with Abby every day. It's a lot of fun. Good morning, Belinda. Good morning, Bonnie. Come on, girl. Again, I always feel weird when I do shots like that. These videos are usually only made with me as the camera person. And so anytime you ever see me or any other YouTuber like drive off into the distance when they're shooting a video, always know that they usually have to go back to get their camera too. As much as possible, I always try to just document what happens here on our farm. But sometimes you have to recognize the artificial constructs that occur when you're making videos, and that's definitely one of them. So this has become like the highway to get to the animals these days. Would you guys look at how foggy it all is? It's very mystical out here every single summer morning. I've had a lot of viewers ask me if the cloudiness and fog is related to the Canadian wildfires, and some of it is like a little bit, but the reality is most of the time in the summer months here in northern Vermont, we always have cloudy mornings like this. We get those cool evening temperatures, there's a lot of moisture in the air, and so things always sort of start the day off like this, and then the fog will usually burn off each morning around 9 o'clock or so. So here we have Abby's house, and here we have the moo crew. So one of the jobs I'm going to have today is I'm going to have to move the moo crew to their next row of pasture. They have eaten down this entire row and left a lot of dookie in their wake. How's it going, Audrey? Ariel? Anna Green Gables? Macho Man? Hey, what's up there, Baby B? Joseph Ramon? Amanda Hug and Kiss? Annabelle? How's everybody doing? So I've got some sad news about Baby B. Even for the first week or so, she was really letting me pet her and brush her on the regular. Pretty much ever since I came back from Los Angeles, she has been skittish as all get out. And so while she doesn't like run away from me like the little calves used to, she doesn't seem to want me getting too close to her either. Which is admittedly kind of a bummer. You know, one of the advantages of having a calf born in, say, April is they're still down by the barn, and so I can pen her up and do more regular work with her. Right now, it's just entirely based on what happens out on pasture, and she's got a lot of room to run on pasture. I think the good news is, as you can see, all the other cattle are very chill around me. Like, really only Joey Ramone and Baby B are the only ones to get up. Everybody else is just hanging out, chewing their cud and relaxing. I take that very much as a sign that the herd is very comfortable with me. And don't worry, Baby B, we're gonna work on you too. I do think, though, the funny thing is, despite the fact that Baby B is not all that comfortable with me, she is still very comfortable with Abby dog. She loves her Auntie Abby. Oh, Abby's communing with Audrey. Whoa, easy there, Abs. You gotta be careful. You could lose an eye that way. You gotta show those big cows some respect, huh? You know, the use of the horn is actually part of how the Highland cattle communicate with each other and like their body language. And so one of the reasons why I'm never a big fan of trying to lop off their horns, which I know a lot of people have suggested to me, is because it really does take away something that they as a breed of animal have evolved to use in a significant way. I mean, the reality is, if I wanted to take their horns off, what I would do is take an animal like Baby B at her age, and I would take a hot implement and burn the little nubbins where her horns are going to grow from. But in my opinion, that practice in itself is kind of cruel. And I also think it's unnecessary cruelness. Yes, there's a tiny bit of danger posed to each other with those horns, but it's very small. And when it happens, they really know what they're doing. And it was very much driven by something much more than just an accident. And then two, when it comes to me and even Abby, as the farm workers here, we just need to do a better job of being responsible and be very careful about it. I think I caught it on the Abby cam. Annabelle was actually letting her groom her for a moment. It was kind of a nice scene. Abby, don't try to chase your baby bee. Come on, she's not another dog. She's a little girl. Sorry, baby bee. Would you guys look at Abby dog? She is really becoming a part of that flock. Or herd, or fold, or I don't know, whatever word you want to use to describe a group of large horned cattle like this. I mean, good gosh, don't they all look like an album cover posed right there? You know, it's usually at like this point in the day when I'm like just out here doing my chores that I will sit down and look at my list of the things I have to do today and just modify it based on anything new I'm seeing. Like, so for example, I know I got to do a pasture move today with the cattle. Also, when I was down there with the Goselings, I had to do a full clean Gooseling house. So that'll be another activity I have to do today. You know, some of my farm work is very planned, but then sometimes the planned stuff has to make way for the things that just sort of happen. And while that's very necessary, I think sometimes it actually makes it hard because I can be like thinking with all the best of intentions that I'm gonna do something very specific, and then at a certain point in the day, I'm gonna have to give up on that idea because I just learn or realize that there's something else to do. But hey, if farm work was predictable, I think a lot more people would do it. Good morning, chickens! How's everybody doing? You know, very soon, I think next week, we're getting a new crop of chickens coming into the farm. We actually have some baby chicks from our friends over at Murray McMurray coming. And so I've got to also get the Goslings out of their house, I don't know, probably within the next couple of days, so that I can make way for those baby chicks that are gonna come. I don't know, they'll probably come Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, which probably means nothing to you guys because I don't know when I'm gonna post this video. But just know in about a week's time from, I think tomorrow is when I would guess that they're gonna arrive. How are my pretty birds? How's everybody doing? Got any eggs? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we got a handful of them so far. That right there is a pretty good start to the morning. Unfortunately, this one looks cracked. When I discover a cracked egg on the top of the pasture, that always becomes an Abby treat. All right, Abby, I'm gonna leave you here, but before I do, I'm gonna let you enjoy this. Here you go, sweetie. Your favorite. Enjoy. Hey, if there's no perks for working as a guard dog, what can you do? All right, sweetie, I'll see you in a couple of hours. Hey, Belinda. How you doing, sweetie? You guys enjoying that grass? That's good. Keeping my eye out for more eggs, shells on my way back here. So as you guys know, I've been dealing with an issue where some sort of critter is stealing my duck eggs from the pasture out here. So the ducks are free ranging in this pasture and some animal keeps stealing the eggs and I don't know how they're doing it. I've set up a whole number of game cameras and I've been trying to catch it from a variety of angles, but I just can't seem to find the culprit in the act. In fact, the only other animals that I've actually even seen on my game cameras are either my birds, the guard dogs, the barn cats, and a lone woodchuck. So yeah, I don't quite know what's going on, but for some reason, some animal is stealing my eggs and I don't know what's going on. And I have no idea how they're doing it. But in fact, I've even put cameras on in the inside, try to catch something stealing it in the act, and I just can't find anything that's doing it. So I don't know what's going on. You know, sometimes people say that I'm over the top when it comes to my praise of Toby Dog and his abilities with poultry, but I disagree with that point of view. You see, Mr. Toby Dog has a really good way with the Goslings in that he likes to sit over them and kind of watch over them, but he also keeps a little bit of distance to them. So he makes sure that they don't get into trouble. He makes sure that nothing attacks them, but he's also not like trying to be a goose himself, because that could lead to one of the Goslings really getting injured. And so what you'll often see from day to day is Toby sitting in the shade, kind of relaxing, maybe taking a nap, but he's never too far from where these little baby Gooselings are hanging out. And that's his way of standing guard. In doing that, he can watch for the aerial predators that they could be susceptible to. He'll keep an eye out for them, ensuring that they don't get into too much trouble, yet at the same time, he's not right on top of them. I actually think one of the reasons why Abby Dog often gets into trouble when it comes to the baby birds is because she is so focused on like trying to engage with them. That engagement creates panic. That panic looks like play, and that play is where she really gets into trouble with the birds. When it comes to Mr. Toby Dog, although he might sometimes seem aloof and a little bit melancholy, that's just how he is and how he likes to interact with the world as well as the birds, which is absolutely perfect for poultry. So you know how I was saying to you guys earlier that sometimes your farm day takes a turn when things don't go exactly to plan? Well, I just saw my beloved Abby Dog come down that hill and go over there. So somehow she escaped the fence, and I have no idea how. So as you guys might recall, I did have Abby Cam going, and so I'm gonna take a quick look at the footage and see what we got here. So for the last several weeks, Abby has been doing a wonderful job of staying out of trouble, staying inside the fenced in area, and it's been working out really well. My plan was actually to have her by today be up there full time and she'd spend the night. But actually yesterday, for the first time, 3 different points in the afternoon, she escaped, and I had no idea how. There was like no sign of her digging a hole. It didn't look like she slipped through the gate. Like physically she couldn't push through the gate. So I wasn't quite sure what it was. And so let's watch the footage and actually see what created the problem. All right, here she is running along the fence, running along the pasture. I will say it's kind of very pretty footage to see her exploring the farm like this. Okay, she's just kind of running around the pasture. She's looking to see what's going on. Okay, she's going to that back corner of the fence. She's going, oh, she just like, oh no. That's like the worst case scenario right there. Shoot. She basically just sort of like phased right through it. That is not good at all. I don't know what I should do about that. I don't know if you saw that, watch the replay here, but our girl here just sort of phased right through the fence, and so I'm gonna have to come up with a solution for that one. Oh, that's frustrating. That's really, really frustrating. Not what I wanted to see at all. Well, Abby girl, I am curious though to see what mischief did you get up to when you were out there on the loose. Let's see, what is our Abby Dog doing here? All right, so after she phases through the fence, she kind of like checks around to make sure she's not being watched. Like I feel like she's clearly looking for signs of me looking for her. And then she starts to go into the forest. But it seems like she's actually walking along the hill, which is sort of the slope that goes down like the hill, like around the edge of the fence. So she's basically walking along the southern boundary of the permaculture orchard and bird yard, but like just at the edge of the woods. You know, sniffing around, she's exploring. This is actually kind of a cool way to watch a dog's point of view on the world. I will give it that. It doesn't take too long, and she doesn't stray too far, which I guess is a good sign. Like, I would be worried that if she went like way, way far away, that I would have a problem on my hand. But it looks like she's just coming right back to the farm. Still sort of exploring the woods a little bit, checking things out. But within 10 minutes, she actually found herself pretty much right back over there, over by the stream, over by that tree line, because you can see her walk up right towards the barn. And then it looks like she spent a good deal of time just sort of exploring the farm, like wandering around the areas of the farm that she doesn't usually get to go to, sniffing around, checking out the barn. And that's pretty much the point when I noticed her. And she's hanging out by the cattle yard. She's just watching around. and then, yep, I caught her. So I guess when it comes down to it, you could have gotten into a lot more trouble, but you are creating some trouble for me, girl, and I gotta figure out a long-term solution. And if you guys have any suggestions, please, by all means, leave them down in the comments, because I'm going to need some help here. Solving this problem was not quite how I wanted to spend my day, but it is the most important thing I need to deal with. So I'm gonna go do that. If you guys wanna see how I solve the problem, I'll leave a link for that video right here. And if you guys have any advice, let me know down in the comments.